Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Blue Collar Workers. This is podcast 11. I'm Sean, John, or 𝐬𝐝𝐫𝐞, depends on who you're asking.
I'm Chris.
And this is your voice, your nation. And once again, thank you for joining us. Welcome back. We've got a lot to get on today, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. You know, even though Chris has already made several comments about my shirt, it's a rather funny story, so we're going to have a little moment of that. He said to me, "You're wearing a shirt. Did someone die?" And I said, "No, it was the only clean item I had in the wardrobe." And he said, "That's the most man thing I remind of you." And it wasn't wrong, you know. I looked at my shirt and I thought to myself, he's not going to be happy if I come into the podcast wearing that. So I chucked the t-shirt into the wash, and I went through the grading of the wash to see if there was anything there that I could wear. And I'm like, open comment, fuck it, it's the shirt.
The fact I'm having an influence on this dress code means I'm doing something right.
Anyway, other than that small amusement, Britain is already a nation of strangers and has been since the days of Margaret Thatcher. When it comes towards the argument that the politicians have that migrants are turning Britain into a nation of strangers, I have an in-depth look into that very subject because most politicians tend to skip over it. Stay tuned for that. Both myself and Chris are going to be talking about Angela Rayner's resignation after underpaying tax on her Hoover flat. It's like feeding frenzy here today when it comes towards politicians like that. Nigel bloody Farage, I fucking hate talking about this bloke, but he seems to be always in the press. We must be ready for early elections. Nigel Farage tells his party in a conference after Angela Rayner's resignation, he suspects that there's going to be a election in 2027. I don't believe so, because no Prime Minister would be insane enough to give that man an opportunity. And I've got a reply to my complaint to the BBC that I'm going to read out and tell you why I completely disagree with the BBC's response to my complaint. Over at Chris's side?
On my side, I've got Rayner is gone, what will Stammer do? New Deputy PM, David Lammy. Reform on the move. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I can already tell you it's not a good thing. New Home Secretary and new lineup in the Labour Party. And then obviously at the end of it all, we would love your thoughts on this, because obviously the Labour reshuffle, well, we shall go into it because it's rather
spicy.
Spicy. Let's put this way, I'm not going to hold punches with these twats today.
No, not at all. We're glad to get back in the swing because, I mean, like I said, there was a bit of a disruption earlier on in mid-August. I was away in Orkney, so, you know, we were just getting back to our position. But I thought it was a good point to start with why Britain is already a nation of strangers. Because this is something that is raised by the right wing on a regular basis. But this has been going on mine and Chris's lifetime. This stems from the times of Margaret Thatcher, when the Tories, the Labour and the Lib Dems back then, they knew Britain was in a birth decline. This is in the 80s. And the early to mid 80s and early 90s, when me and Chris were, I was a young teenager, and this one wasn't even out of fucking primary school. When people describe Britain as a nation of strangers, they're pointing to the deep social, cultural, and economic.
Hang on, did you say 80s?
Yeah,
I was a child. I was 84, you dumbass.
Christ, I'm older than you, and I thought. Yeah. Because but by the end of the 80s, I was in primary school. Let's get it right. And then 90s, I was in secondary, and you were just coming into primary. Mm-hmm. When people describe Britain as a nation of strangers, they're pointing to deep social, cultural, and economical changes that have reshaped everybody's life. It doesn't literally mean people don't know each other, but rather their feeling of community, shared identity, and mutual trust have weakened compared to the past. This is garbage. This is absolute garbage by my research. Britain has been the desecration, the nation of strangers, since as early as 1975. The decline of close-knit communities happened with the collapse of mines, factory towns, and societies as such like that. In the early decades, people tended to live and work in the same area for most of their lives, often surrounded by extended family, neighbours, and long-term friends. Industrial towns, mining villages, and strong religious communities created bonds of solidarity. I remind you, Britain, the loss of your religion is a massive blow, and this happened from nothing to do with us migrants. Right? Whether they're first generation Irish or second or third generation Bengali, we have nothing to do with the collapse of your religious community. That's entirely your internal business.
As far as I was aware, most of them come over due to the fact we had a religious community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Structure insane.
Because it meant we understood where our place was. from a Muslim point of view. With urbanisation and mobility, those who have loosened and people move more frequently from work and study and housing. Individuality and privacy. Modern British culture values personal freedom, independence and privacy. Whilst liberating, this can also mean people are less likely to chat with neighbours, join local clubs or invest in community life. These are points that were made in the late 70s Britain. I cannot stress the fact that this is not something that has come up recently. So I want to make a correlation with you of the difference between we are a nation of strangers. We've been a nation of strangers longer than me and Chris have been alive. I was born literally in 80, he was 84. Diversity and fragmentation. Britain today is one of the most diverse societies in the world, with people of many different ethnicities, religions and cultural backgrounds. This is not a bad thing. This is a positive thing because it allows us to become enriched from the society and gain benefit from this. Mixed ideas, new innovations, new social ways of looking at problems. Diversity can enrich a society, but can also reduce the shared cultural reference points, where when they're the only points you have left because you've burnt down your churches, you've abandoned your mum and dad, you've fled the village to go to a high-yielding city for shitty pay. Why are you blaming us for the one thing that the migrants, bring to the country? Multiculturalism has sometimes led to parallel communities that interact less with one another. We need to work on that. I'm an all fan for the multiculturalism, but we do absolutely need to work with that. Economical and social inequality. Rising inequality has created very different living experiences within Britain. Wealthy professionals in London, struggling families in deindustrialised towns, and recent migrants often inhabit separate social worlds with little overlap. Again, those are the things we could work on. This is an analytical position from the 70s. This can foster mutual suspicion, resentment, or individual or indifference rather than solidarity. Declined in shared institutions. In the past, churches, trade unions, pubs, and local clubs played a central role in bringing people together. Here is the thing: pubs have collapsed. Have been in decline since the 90s, 2000s. Trade unions have been gutted by the political elite. Churches have been abandoned. Again, not the migrants' fault. And community centres and local clubs are the only things that we still have. So we're holding on to the wafers of what was British 70s. And it's important, again, I emphasise this because I want this analysis that was written in the 70s to be emphasised to you that this is not a modern thing. The disintegration of British integration isn't a modern thing. It's not in mine and Chris's lifetime. The media and politics, national media and politics, often emphasise division: youth versus old, north versus south, urban versus rural, native-born versus immigrant. This amplifies the senses of being a fragmented nation when people don't fully understand or trust each other. That is the end of the analysis that is given from the 1970s. This is reheated garbage that people like Nigel Farage and the Conservative Party and parts now of the Labour Party continue to bring up. These are the points I wanted to make. They're quite critical. I wanted to make this, and that's why I've kind of gone on this tangent, and Chris has been rather quiet about it. But since the Industrial Revolution, 18th century, this is the type of politics that the British establishment has maintained. They did it again in the World Wars, in the 1940s, 1945s, to emphasise the Central Powers or the Germans, British Germans who suffered under these situations. The post-war immigrations of the 1950s, all those brown people stealing white people's jobs. What jobs are you talking about when you're not having enough children? These are all integrated problems that the corporate elite have used against you. Then there's the decline of heavy industry from the 1970s to the 1980s, the very real point of where this has come from. And of course, my analysis of Thatcherism and that lot comes from specifically this point. But I wanted to post this emphasis on the point that we are losing this identity because the corporate elite have been using this narrative mining Chris's entire life. What's your thoughts?
It's a lovely, tricky one to handle, but I'm not going to lie, there seems to be a separation between the classes.
Yeah, absolutely.
The ethnic groups and everything else, and it all seems to always be pushed
by the media and the political elite.
By certain people.
Me and Chris are Unitarians. We believe in the unity of the United Kingdom. Regardless of your skin colour, who you're fucking, what you're doing with your business in the bedroom, how you live your life. We believe in a coherent society. And to build a coherent society, you must promote a coherent society.
I say, we can all live together without an issue.
Yeah.
It's just, I've always been one in case of the fact, your own personal opinions on personal matters should stay behind closed doors. That's such a conservative viewpoint, but I don't
There's nothing wrong with that, Chris. There's
Literally,
really nothing wrong with that.
It's your personal business. It stays your personal business. When it becomes obviously like to do with politics and everything else, it's public business, therefore you can openly talk about it. And there's nothing wrong in having a discussion. The thing that I can't stand is when you start arguing over it. Well, I say argue, starting fights over it, shall I say. Yeah, there's no harm in having an argument as long as it's a healthy argument, but when it results to violence, it's pointless.
But the idea that our nation is full of strangers has been used as a dog whistle to whip up ethno-nationalists. And it's disgusting. And more Britons need to hold accountable for the fact that this is
part of it's been played on fears.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's literally, that's key point there. They're playing on some people's fears. Where obviously there's always going to be some people I think that it should be pure white Britain and all that fucking bollocks. We've already proved to you that's just complete and utter garbage. Yeah.
Britain hasn't been a pure white Britain since the 1700s.
Honestly, I don't know. I can't even trace it. I think, tell me a country, any place in the world where it's pure one race.
The deep Central African nations that have very little connection to the rest of the world.
I was going to say, that hasn't been isolated off.
Yeah, that's the point. All the trade nations of the world all have a migration. All of them. People quite often point to Japan, but Japan has an enormous Korean population. Japan has an enormous Vietnamese population.
I was going to say, I saw Japan, China, Korea, and all that sort of. They
all integrate amongst themselves.
They all integrate into themselves.
So what they're saying is there's not a large white population in those countries, which of course not, because Asia is the largest populated area of the fucking world. It's Asia. 1/10 of humanity has always lived in Asia. We're the minority, but people don't like being told that. On the world stage, white people are the minority. We're 500 million people tops. I think there's probably less than 500 million white people in the world. And we've always been a population minority. There's 2-3 billion in fucking Asia.
It's always towards the west as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's due to weather conditions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Due to your local environment, I think that's down to. That's an interesting fact for you. If you look on the map and look at where different skin tones are, you guarantee it's affected by weather, by your natural environment.
I take that back. 461 million. We've dropped by 50 million in the last 50 years. We're very much a minority of the world's population.
Well, the amount of integration that goes about in the world these days, you're really surprised?
No, of course not. But this is what I can't understand is many people start sitting there saying, oh, the multicultural...
And people say there's white supremacy.
Fucking no, Jesus. You have to ask some of these people, really you do. How the fuck are you on? But over to Chris's first topic today.
Rayner is gone. What will 𝐼𝐸 do? This is an interesting one.
It's the independence. I'm actually hopeful.
Yeah. Sir Keir Starmer will seek to draw a line under the row over Angela Rayner's tax affairs following Friday's wide-ranging reshuffle. Miss Rayner quit as Deputy Prime Minister. Should have been fired. House Secretary and Deputy Labour leader following the official probe into her administration that she did not pay enough stamp duty on the seaside home she bought earlier this year. Her sudden resignation prompted the first major reshuffle for Sir Keir Starmer's premiership, in which he sacked 2 ministers, promoted 2 and moved 10 into different roles. The changes, which affected half the cabinet, included a move for David Lammy from the Foreign Office to the new Justice, Security and Deputy Prime Minister. Mr. Lammy himself were replaced by 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿𝐫𝐿 with Shaban can't pronounce the name.
𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿𝐫𝐿 and Shabana
moving to the Ministry of Justice at the Home Office. The reshuffle also comes just 4 days after Sir 𝐟𝐸𝐾𝐭 carried out a small shake-up of his Downing Street team, announcing that his government was now entering phase 2. Whilst we're on the topic of lovely Rayner, Miss Rayner, I personally think she should have been fired.
Absolutely. Angela Rayner, to be fair, is she...
And the bloody tax office best bloody chase her up on that bitch in stamp duty so she doesn't get a bloody way with it.
I think the most important thing we need to point here is she should have gracefully resigned when it came out the first time. That would have given more...
She shouldn't have fucking done it to start with.
To be fair, when you've got multiple properties, you can understand how... I can grasp how she's forgotten about it with all the things she's doing. You've got to get...
And no, under the premise of a normal, civilian, yeah, one that isn't in the public field and in the political world as well, yeah, I can understand the slip up. But you're in a position of power. Basically, the second in command, you need to hold yourself to that high standard, which means you need to double, triple, quadruple check everything you do. If you don't hold yourself up to the standard, I'm sorry, you're not fit to be in that position. If she literally said she sought advice, and that lawyer company turned around and go, no, you fucking did not, which means she was lying through her fucking teeth. That is disgraceful behaviour from a deputy PM. I'm sorry, you should have been sacked.
No. That for lying about that, absolutely. But the original thing was she had not paid enough tax on her 800,000 flat in Hove.
Yeah, but regardless, she should have double, tripled, quadruple checked, gone to multiple sources, double checked with everything, because you're in such a position of power. You need to hold yourself up to higher standards.
Now, I'm not defending the fact of what she did, Chris. I want to defend what was her departure comes after the Prime Minister's ethics advisor, 𝐸 Magnus, said Rayner had acted with integrity, but concluded she breached the ministerial code by the mistakes of her understanding of what was needed. So she wasn't acting unethical, but she fucked up. So she made a mistake. And we've got to remember that it is a mistake.
Yeah, the thing is, the amount of resources she has at her command and what she stands for.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course.
She shouldn't be fucking up. Especially since the amount of controversy that's been about over politicians owning second homes for years.
Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah.
And again, I don't necessarily disagree with you. What I'm saying is, you and the farmers have had the knives out for Angela Rayner for a long time.
That's even more reason for her to freaking make sure she's double checking everything.
Because you and the farmers have been wanting to stab that woman for a long time. It's like you stood there with the butchers getting the knives out.
She keeps raising the pissing taxes, so damn right I'm after her. Our problem is raise the taxes. Let's just make everyone poorer.
He did say she got legal advice when buying properties, but failed to seek further expert tax advice as recommended.
Yep, no, she said she got advice, but then that company turned around and said she did not.
This is what the gentleman who was answering to the Prime Minister said. This was the ethics.
Yeah, but they're all just going to back her because she thinks they're going to sniff her own ass. I will hang her on such discrepancies. I don't give a shit.
She did resign though, Chris. You've got to, that was probably before she was purged. Let's be fair about that.
She knew the axe was coming, so she jumped ship. I'm sorry, 𝐾𝐿. You should have freaking got that axe out sooner. Actually, no, I'm not sorry. You should have bloody done it. Go some bloody balls and deal with it.
In essence, I find that Downing Street dropped the ball on this. They should have got ahead of that.
Dropped the ball? They didn't fucking have it to start with. It's a rare moment. I've silenced him, despite the fact he's eating the cookie.
I see the humanitarian position in this. I think Rayner fucked up. The media has turned this into a frenzy. Chris and the farmers have an axe to grind. You've got to understand that Britain, they have axes to grind. there is some old wounds that they've just opened up. We're coming for you, Rayner.
And I mean it. When the tax office, you best chase up on that 40,000. I don't give a shit. She pays the bloody bills.
I think she's probably already paid it.
Yeah, she best have done.
But you know what I'm saying? I get the impression that that would have been news, Chris, if she hadn't and just immediately paid that.
If it pops up in 2 weeks that she hadn't paid it.
I just think the massive shuffle is because Rayner was a massive backer of the Prime Minister. She was in the Prime Minister's back a corner. She's always had his back. She's one of the key. I mean, she is a key Zionist, but I'm saying we are all human beings, okay? And the ethic, from what I can read from the ethics guy, the ethics advisor, she meant well. She fucked up.
So
this wasn't. Yeah, of course.
Power.
But we're human beings, Chris. You've got to remember, we all can make mistakes. And this is a small enough mistake that I don't consider it to be worthy of dragging on more than the fact she's lost a job.
No, the main thing that I'm peed off about is the fact that with everything that's going on with regards, obviously, tax
towards the farmers, completely.
Tax towards everyone, not just the farmers, towards everyone, and obviously the backlash that has happened in the past due to politicians having second properties and everything else.
Yeah, completely.
She should have covered her back in every single stage, but instead she's played what I think is an act of the negligent fool. I've made a mistake, which has only pissed everybody off.
I think it's Rayner's departure is going to
be in the position of that power. You shouldn't have made that mistake to start off with, whether it's intentional, unintentional, whatever. You knew the stakes. You deliberately tried playing a card to try and get away with it. That is my thought on it. Because if you knew the fact that obviously you could potentially have a higher stamp duty, you would have done your due diligence and actually made sure everything was correct, especially since you're the one posing tax increases on everybody. You knew your head would have been on the chopping block. Whether that's by 𝐟𝐸𝐵𝐿 actually, for once, actually using his balls and doing it sooner, or by the fact that it got out to the public and they all after you.
But the reality is there was no realistic way that he was going to fire her. She has sat on the same stage as him as a Zionist. So, I mean, she's one of the Zionist insiders of the Labour Party, and there aren't enough of them. He's not going to betray her. He's a Zionist himself. He's a hardcore Zionist. So
he just explained why he wouldn't sack her.
Oh, of course not. But I'm not objecting to the fact of her going, or 𝐾𝐨𝐺'𝐿 or any Zionist. I'm objecting to the fact that specifically this is a minor thing that has been blown out of proportion by the press. You've forgotten something like a stamp duty. The tax has just reminded you, but you're also in a position of incredible authority, as Chris has just said. And because you're in a position of incredible authority, this has led towards great mirth and irritation by the British public. And I completely understand that. It's something that's going to deeply upset the British people. Sir Lawrence concluded the responsibility of any taxpayer for reporting their tax returns and setting their liabilities rests ultimately on themselves alone. To your point that you said earlier.
Should have done your homework, should have double and triple checked everything. Because I know for a fact, if us, that would just the standard people, turn around and made a mistake, we would slap through the sodden fine.
No, she is. She's going to be fined £12,000 for careless error in tax arrangements.
Good.
On top of the 40 grand stamp.
That actually makes me smile, the fact that they're not even immune to fines.
The HMRC has basically said that she's got to pay a £12,000 careless error in her tax code. And I think, caveat, Rayner going is a good thing from my point of view as a Muslim. Rayner going is a good thing. But the reason she went is a bit fucking minor. Do you understand what I'm getting at, Chris?
I can understand the fact that it's a minor reason, but seeing as at the moment it's all about taxes on the world stage, it was inevitable.
Yeah. That's we can come to that conclusion, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think that the shake-up of the party is a good thing. Because
if taxes weren't such a big thing on the field, it would have been a case of she probably just would have been demoted to a different position.
Yeah, that's entirely possible, because she's such a powerful ally of the Prime Minister.
But because of the fact taxes are on central stage at the moment, it wasn't going to happen.
Dave Lammer is a pretty large MP in the UK.
Well, that's my next point, which we'll discuss. So, because I want to discuss this because of the fact.
Let's go on.
Obviously, 𝐾𝐨𝐺'𝐿 makes David Lammy Deputy PM as as Angela Rayner's resign sparks major cabinet reshuffle. 𝐾𝐿 has completed a major reshuffle of his cabinet after Rayner resigned, breaching the ministerial code when she said she's not paying enough stamp duty on her new seaside homes. David Lammy replaced Rayner as Deputy Prime Minister. He's also becomes a Justice Secretary, moving from his role as Britain's top diplomat, the Foreign Secretary. Steve Reid has taken over Miss Rayner's Housing Secretary brief, leaving behind his role as Environmental Secretary. He's had a massive reshuffle.
Yeah, no, it's huge. His reshuffle is absolutely massive. He's moved him from Foreign Secretary to replace Rayner as the Deputy Prime Minister. He's also taken on the Justice Secretary role, with Shaban Mamoun moving to Home Office and 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿 becoming the Foreign Secretary.
Yeah.
I can't see. I hold my mirth for 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿. That woman is fucking vile. The shit she has done in the past. That woman makes my skin crawl as a politician.
It will be coming up in obviously our new lineup party. We can discuss all of them. But my thing is obviously with David becoming the new obviously Deputy PM. I expect you to turn around and actually rein the rails in and actually do some outstanding good to win back the public favour.
Yeah, I think that's Lamia has a fucking mountain of work ahead.
Yeah,
he does, because the public trust in the Labour Party is badly fucking damaged.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, because obviously people do make this judgment of how people present themselves within their first photo, and everything else when they come into the public view. I'm not going to lie, he does have that persona of I will get shit done, despite the fact he has some weird facial expressions.
But he is a suit-wearing, hard-working kind of man.
You could tell he's going to go, I'm going to get shit done. Let's see how much shit I can get done. I'm hoping he gets a lot of shit done. What shit he gets done, that's up for debate.
Absolutely. Yeah. The Right Honourable Gentleman David Lammy, Member of Parliament, he's well regarded in his community. Let's give a very clear comment about this. And he works bloody hard. He's not one of these silver spoon kind of Labour members. He worked his way up from the bottom. I genuinely hope he can turn it round, because at this point I'm not even a supporter of Jeremy Corbyn. If Jeremy Corbyn's party takes off, we need people like David Lammy to hold the fucking centre of the Labour Party together, because if Labour disintegrates and the far left move to Jeremy Corbyn's party, there are going to be very few forces that are going to stop Nigel Farage. He's becoming a fucking unstoppable Nazi fucking juggernaut. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't mean Nazi. I mean closet Nazi. I mean I'm going to dog whistle the right wing and the racist bastards, but I'm not one myself. That's what I mean by Nazi bastard.
Contradictory piece of shit.
He is. He's just, the man lies through his fucking teeth.
But I really do hope David Lammy actually does some good.
Well. We really do, because we want our country to become better than it is. Okay? And I think the Prime Minister has relied on too many of his old pals in the force and less drawing on the diversity of his actual party, and this is a good thing. This is a really good thing.
Literally, I got my fingers crossed that he actually does a good job. It's about time someone actually steps up to the plate and actually smacks some sense into the parties, and
especially the fucking Prime Minister.
Yeah, and I'm hoping he does, because he looks like a no nonsense. Let's get stuff done. Let's sort shit out. Hopefully he does it in the right way that we're all hoping it does for the public, because obviously we never know, it could go the fucking wrong way. But I'm hoping the positive way.
See, this is a reply from the Prime Minister to 𝐷𝐿𝐫𝐿. On a personal note, I'm very sad to be losing you from the government. You have been a trusted colleague and a true friend for many years. Do you understand? That's the way that they operate inside the Labour Party. I have nothing but admiration for you and a huge respect for your achievements in politics. I don't think she's done much in politics. She's like 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿, she's a bit of a backstabber in the Labour Party. He concluded Rayner would remain a major figure in the Labour Party. No, she won't. No, she won't. This is her obituary. She's not. She's fucked.
She's out.
She's not just out. She's more than backbench at this point. If she's smart, she'll resign as an MP. Because there are so much grievances that with her and 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿 that exist in the party, and people have a just reason to be angry with the way that the two of them have generally operated.
Well, honestly, I'm hoping David actually reduces the taxes. I'm hoping he reverses some shit.
I don't think he will. I don't think he's capable of it.
Or at least turn around and put the footstones in it so the next one does. If he actually looks at the public outcry to obviously how taxes are being heavily relied upon to literally save the UK from our working pockets and not from the corporates.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to make a final defence of not her politics on why I think this wasn't as important a point. She has a complex arrangement surrounding a trust for her disabled son. And that's why this Hoover flat problem has become what it is.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to be the harsh critic. If you know for a fact it requires your son, you should be double checking your paperwork regardless. Because I know people which do have obviously children with obviously difficulties of all varieties, and they double and triple check every single bit of paperwork, so everything is above board.
No, I'm not denying that. Yeah. I'm just saying we need to give a certain level of Zionistical politics can kiss my arse very clearly, but as a human being, we can make mistakes. And Rayner made them, and she paid the ultimate price. But let's be fair, she lost her job, Chris. She lost one of the most powerful positions in the country.
But then,
and I know that puts a smile on your face. You sadistic knives out bastards.
I will always hold these people to high standards.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
I'm sorry, you're in a position of that power, you hold to a high standard.
I'm not disagreeing with you. Yeah. What I'm saying is we need to be more... The blow needs to be softened.
No! The blow needs to be punched home harder to these bloody politicians so they pull up their pants and do their bloody job. I'm sick of being soft-footed. It's time you people done your pissing job in the UK and stop being bloody twats.
I've turned him into the angry podcaster.
No, I'm just sick of these politicians thinking they can do this and get away with it. Oh, look at me, I've got away with shit. I've had enough of it. Do your fucking job, or else war just fucking come for you. Yeah. And get you fucking fired. I don't care.
She resigned before she was fired.
That's because she knew the axe was coming, because Keir Starmer was too much of a soft pussy to do it himself. Ooh. The Zionistic prick.
Ooh. We must be ready for early elections, Nigel Farage tells his party. Nigel Farage has told Reform UK members that they must be ready for an early general election following the resignation of the Deputy Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. Back onto the Rayner business. You might know the podcast title is going to say Rayner's resignation. Because let's be fair, it's been a bit of a dominant post in this Our podcast today.
Well, it's been a dominant post everywhere. So.
The Reform leader took to the stage for his keynote conference speech 3 hours earlier than planned after Rayner's announced her resignation. We're about to witness a big rift in the Labour Party, he told cheering supporters. I think there's every chance now of a general election happening in 2027, and we must be ready for that moment. He announced the settling up of a new department to prepare for the government, with former Reform chairman 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞 as head of policy. He claimed the 2027 election was likely because Labour was about to descend in the civil war and many left-wing would defect to the new party being set up by Jeremy Corbyn. Although there are few signs of this happening so far. Very few signs whatsoever. I did a little bit of due diligence research into this. The Labour Party is wary. They know Farage is on the right. They know he's coming. So quite a lot, and I've got to give them their credit, quite a lot of the good, morally upstanding centre-left and left-winged Labour Party members are like, no, we're not going to join Jeremy just yet. Nigel Farage is there. We need to hold against the monstrosity that is going to happen. And they're being a lot more sensible than people give them credit for. And I think the Reform leader is kind of blowing his own trumpet here a little bit. The Reform leader said he would set out some serious cuts to the welfare budget shortly, and that if elected, his party would stop the boats within 2 weeks. He can't. That's bollocks. That's absolute bollocks. There's no way he could stop it outside of setting mines, which are illegal, or putting gunboat patrols, which are highly illegal, in the fucking goddamn channel.
I was going to say the only way to obviously reduce the amount of people coming over that way is with the deal that Starmer actually done with the French. One of the fucking good things he's actually done.
We've said Starmer is a good foreign policy member, a good business secretary, terrible fucking Home Prime Minister, fucking dreadful Home Prime Minister.
Fantastic as Foreign Secretary, because he could probably barter deals to next week. But literally, the only way to stop reduce and control
That's the important thing. Control our illegal immigration.
Reduce and control the illegal immigration is to be starting off with this deal with France and then to do similar deals with Spain, and Greece and all those others. Yeah, because that's the only way it's going to happen. Because as soon as we get a rein on it, we can actually start controlling it.
He revealed that he was planning to have a lunch with the Albanian Prime Minister to discuss possible migration return agreements. Now, fuck me, someone punch me. I happen to agree with somebody actually talking to the Albanians, because the Albanian parts of the Albanian community, Jesus, forgive me for all the hard-working British Albanians. I want to start clear of that. 95%, but there are a lot of criminal Albanians in the country. There's a hell of a lot. And I'm not even here dog whistling towards that. I'm just saying that there are, and they are very organised, and we need to fucking deport them to let the actual hard-working Albanians go back to their normal lives. You see, this is the problem. I want foreign criminals deported without question, ferociously.
Call it weeding out the bad root.
Yeah, exactly. Because there are too many. Like in every community, 85, 90% of them are good people.
I say you always have that bad apple in any part.
And the problem is that bad apple is very, very organised. The Albanian criminal element in the UK is extremely well organised.
Are you really that surprised? Is 95% of them are really hardworking, actually good workforce?
Oh, of course, absolutely.
Yeah. So it makes sense that if they turn the other way, they're going to be actually quite good at it.
Yeah, of course. The Albanian criminals are extremely well organised, very hardworking people, and you have to acknowledge that they are, and they need to be deported. Lock, stock and barrel. Every single foreign criminal, that's one thing me and Chris have at Universal, deport them once they've done their prison time. End of conversation. You've been caught breaking a serious law in the country, you're gone. And I'm a liberal saying that.
No, I reckon they should be deported during their prison time to their native country prison.
I think we should. This is why I agree with forgive me. This is why I agree with prisons that are run by private companies, so they can build stuff for this country, so we can benefit from the labour of their crime.
Oh, you mean use them as a free labour workforce as part of their punishment?
Yeah, as part of their punishment. They've broken the laws of this country. They should benefit this country.
I'd make it a deal to be. I'd turn around and
they can choose early deportation if they don't want to work in a prison.
I was going to say, literally just pose the option to them, and a very, very civil option. It's either you serve your time in your native prison, or you serve the time here, but you help us build our infrastructure better.
Yeah, roads, everything else.
Yeah.
But his speech was more for firing up the reform troops than setting out policies, as he sought to capitalise on the party's recent local election victories and consistent lead in the national opinion polls. I'm going to have an argument about those polls in a moment. We are all ships rising on a turquoise tide, heading ever closer towards winning the next general election. No, you're not. You're fucking delusional. He told supporters who have been summoned to the hall 3 hours earlier than expected over the Birmingham venue's public address system. In another surprise move, he broke off from his speech to introduce Nadia Doreen, who defected Reform on Thursday to make a brief speech. The former Tory cultural secretary, who, like Farage, is a veteran of the I'm a Celebrity jungle, was greeted on stage by a fusillade from the glitter cannons. She told cheering crowds, "I feel that the first time in a number of years as though I am at a conference and among people who share the same principles and values I have and always have held." This is a closet racist person. She is she was a supporter of Boris Johnson and the nasty rhetoric he was. The only reason she was a cultural minister was because she was in Boris Johnson's party, Boris Johnson's elite. Remember, Boris Johnson was such an epic failure that he fucked up COVID, going to the parties and that lot. This is not what we call a willing endorsement for you, Reform. In fact, I think it's more like egg on your face. This woman was from a political champion who constantly lied, skullduggered, and had somebody who believed in ethnic eugenics. His fucking chief defence person was a eugenics believer. You know, a fucking supporter of eugenics was one of his advisors. This is not a positive sign, Reform, that you want to bring somebody from a party of the worst scum of the Conservative Party. I mean, this isn't even a loss, relatively speaking. The Glitzy event was on a much bigger scale than previous Reform gatherings, with thousands of activists and hundreds of corporate lobbyists. Reforms, you see, there's the important thing. Lobbyists, corporate fucking lobbyists. I'm going to make a point about this when I speak later about the my BBC complaint letter, because it's very clear who pays for many of these opinion polls. And you can tell that from the cherry picking. Reform are seeking to bring elements of the US political rallies to their conferences. And when it returns to the stage, Farage did not hesitate.
Did you just say parts of the US political
Farage
parties?
did not hesitate to borrow phrases from Donald Trump. Let's make Britain great again.
No, sorry. If you start taking parts from the US political party, which I'm sorry, but the US is in massive political downfall at the moment, you're just going to fail.
Yeah.
You're borrowing parts from a broken system over there to try and utilize it here, which means you're just going to break the system even further. God damn.
The speech was delivered without notes, but had a few simple themes. The main one being that Britain was in a very bad place. It is. And it's in a bad place because of people like you, Nigel Farage. You voted for us to leave Europe. You increased all of our food bills by 20 to 30%.
More than that. We're
in a bad place because of you, Nigel Farage. Yes, Britain is in a bad place because of you. Because of you, motherfucker.
Anything else on your point?
He hit back on claims that Reform was a one-man band, but said it had to do more to prepare for power and to recruit people with experience in government. Nadia is not an experienced person in government. If they're the people he wants, his government is going to fail, even if he gets elected, which I'd be horrified if it is. Even if he gets elected, it's going to be a nightmare. Absolute fucking nightmare. It's in order to get all these policies brought together under one roof, and it's a massive workload. I'm going to ask 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽 from this day to be our head of policy to bring it all together. The problem is the Reform Party has no policies at the moment. They have no policies that we can look at. And the reason Nigel has done this is so he can't have his policies picked apart before the election. He's a coward. The Conservatives have their policies. The Liberals have their policies. Labour's living their fucking policies. And their mistakes. But this is the point. For such a great party with loads and loads of polls and corporate lobbyists, remember that, Britain, corporate lobbyists. I want to emphasise that again. Corporate lobbyists are at Nigel Farage's party. You should be fucking concerned about that. Back to Chris.
Moves on from your point, because I've got Reform on the move. Yeah. Reform leader Nigel Farage has said his party is on track for becoming the next government, adding that there will be a big rift in the Labour Party following Rayner's resignation. Ms Farage struck a triumphant tone at the Reform UK conference in Birmingham this afternoon, where he said there is every chance the next general election will take place in 2027. You're dreaming. The Reform leader is due to speak at 4 p.m. today, but brought the meeting forward by 3 hours after Rayner stepped down as Deputy Prime Minister and the Housing Minister. Ms Rayner has been under pressure after admitting to Sky News political editor Beth Rigby on an electoral dysfunctional podcast this week that she didn't pay enough tax on her second house. Ms Rayner took activist Mr Farage told activists he was making his speech earlier than planned because the government is deep in crisis following her resignation. All I'm going to say on this is literally, if Reform somehow make it to government and actually in power, say goodbye to our civil rights.
Yeah. It's not just our civil rights. This man wants to give corporations everything.
Yeah. They are using immigration issue as a stepping stool to get in, when really they're after the civil rights. Already just doing a couple of deep dives. Some of the rights they'll be getting after will be the women's rights. Start off with, they plan on adjusting those, which means they'll be wiped out. Literally, the civil rights for actually which protect our work policies and everything else will be under fire.
Because that's why these are corporate lobbyists here.
Yeah. Literally,
remember, Reform wants to scrap your human rights bill, and they say they want to do it so they can deport people. You don't need to do that.
No, literally, they're using the immigration issue to go after our civil and human rights, because of the fact, as is clearly stated, he has got corporate lobbyists on his side, and corporate lobbyists want to turn around to make us a labour force. And if we step out 1 foot out of line, we're sacked and blacklisted. That's the simplest explanation ever. If he gets in power, say goodbye to rights.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is the fundamental point of view. I mean, just over in America, when he was giving his speech about the freedom of expression, Nigel was talking. He was torn apart by a US senator who said GBN News is still on the air. GBN News hasn't been shut down, where Nigel Farage gets his gets part of his show money that he's using to prop up his party, and that should be investigated. That should be investigated. That he's using his podcast effectively to finance his party, and whether or not there is some sleaze going on there. This is a very candid point of view. Britain still has a moderately open conversation, especially when it comes to the political views. Yes, there is some policing going on involving there is. Did you see that point about the Father Ted gentleman who was arrested?
Yes.
Yeah, that was disgusting. Even the Met poll says that they're in a rock and a hard place, that they had to arrest him when they shouldn't be dealing with culture wars, and they shouldn't. You know, the Labour needs to roll that back. Genuinely needs to roll that back. Hurt feelings should not be a justifiable reason for people to be arrested. And that's where we're heading. Yes, he made some tangential, tongue-in-cheek threats, but when the fuck do you not make those when you're into comedy? I think we've gotten to this point now, Britain, where you're cotton-walling absolutely fucking everything. To be offended, Chris is offended by me on a daily fucking basis. I mean, I'm offending this cunt just because of his shitty hairstyle and his peppercorn in his beard. You know, he looks. And I'm
still considered the handsome one, you prick.
Yeah, but I'm not the one looking fucking old.
I don't give a shit. I'm still classified as handsome one compared to you. I take that as a win. So you can turn around and offend me. I could offend you back.
Being offended is a thing about being British. We have a dark humour is a British thing.
All I say is about being offended. It's a personal thing. It's literally
it should never be policed. It certainly shouldn't be something you should get arrested for.
There are several ways you could deal with being offended. You could just turn around and ignore it. You can turn around and offend the person back, which is what we do to each other all the time.
On a hourly basis, not a daily basis.
And then all you got to do is just let it, as they say, let it roll off you like water off a duck's back. Because of the fact you turn around and start letting every single bit of offence into your soul, heart, body, mind, whatever, you're just going to crumble faster than anything else.
Absolutely, you're going to fall apart.
Yeah.
I think it's mad. I mean, we've reached this point where people get offended every single day over the smallest things, tweets, messages. You know, of course, it's a nanny state. We've turned into it.
And literally, if Reform gets into power, it'd be worse than Keir Starmer trying to turn us into a nanny state.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, the man will strip our legal rights.
Yeah. He looks so smiting, and they are literally using immigration as a front.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm hoping us as a population have started to see this and actually started to pinpoint out the fact that he's using immigration as a front. I'm not saying there isn't an issue with immigration.
Oh, no, there is.
Yeah.
Britain, there is a problem.
Yeah.
We're liberals and we're telling you there's a problem. Yeah. But it's not as fucking monstrous as Farage keeps using it as a riding lightning bolt for many of the people who aren't politically educated.
I'm going to say there is a way to deal with it. There is a correct way to deal with it without causing such a massive rift. Because if he turns around, takes over, uses it to strip our civil rights, well, I'm not going to lie, I would not be surprised if he got in power, he stripped our civil rights, within 5 years there'll be a civil war. I could see it happening. Because in fact, America's on the brink of another civil war.
Oh no, America has a failing empire.
Yeah.
America's collapse is almost inevitable.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but literally, America has a failing empire and it caused a civil war. I wouldn't be surprised if it does the same again.
I think realistically that the America's collapse is almost around the corner.
Yeah. There's only two ways that collapse is going to go. It's either they're going to collapse and then rebuild quietly and silently and actually be better off than what they were, or it's going to go the worst way where they collapse and it'll turn into a civil war.
Yeah, no, I'm certain that there's a 50-50 chance that America is due to collapse because of Donald Trump anyway. The way he's policing his country, the way he's using National Guards and abusing his nation right now, it's horrifying to think. And Nigel Farage is his
taking notes from his playbook.
Poodle. Yeah. This is dangerous, Britain. Really fucking dangerous.
You
only have to look at how cities and families are being torn apart in America and think that's a good thing. There's nothing good about what Donald Trump's doing to his own people, where he's deploying National Guards into city-states, ignoring city governors, violating the rule of law, because he's appointed as many judges as he damn well pleases in the Supreme Court.
If anything, from this point, I would say is Liberal Dems, it's time for you to step up. It's time for you to stick one of your boisterous people into power that have sense. Yeah, I like the way he's shoving his shoulders.
Motherfuckers, I'm coming!
To actually knock some sense into the government. Yeah, and trust me, if he ends up in power, trust me, I'll be the one keeping in line. Don't worry.
He thinks that. I got his strings.
I can tell you now, he may be the front line, but I'll be the one making the common sense decisions. Especially when it comes to money.
Yeah, no, I'm not stupid about that. I know the limitations in that. I think in reality, we have to understand that Farage is a serious threat to British liberty, equality and democracy. And we need to talk like that, because this man wants to destroy your human rights. And he says a British bill. He's not described what this British bill will do. He's given no indication of what the British Bill of Rights will do. It's all fucking open-air talk. This is why there are so many corporate lobbyists in his actual party reference.
The biggest red flag is the fact that he's got no policies publicly for you to read. That should say it all, to be quite honest, because every other previous party have had policies, even though some of them haven't fulfilled them or failed to do them or whatnot, at least you knew the direction they were trying to head. Yeah. He has not got any, which to me is the biggest red flag of all, because then he could turn around and say, oh, I'm now in power, here's my policies, and it's completely against everything we want, which is what I have a feeling he will actually turn around and do, because he seems like the type of prick that will do it.
Absolutely. And Britain, you have to be wary of this. You really do. Because this man has not filled out what he wants to do, how he's going to do it, how he's going to pay for it. Remember, he has pie-in-the-sky ideas. He's lied about money multiple times. I go back to my previous comment that I find mirth rather funny. Where's my £325 million a week, Nigel? You lying bastard. Yeah? Because those are the kind of lies this motherfucker tells.
If that money actually did start surfacing up in government per week, I'll be going, at last we actually start to make some headway and get some money. But the way he's saying it will never happen.
So I'm just typing in what Nigel Farage says on.
He demanded 800 million to be refunded.
Yeah.
What?
Britain has lost 5.2% of its economy from leaving Europe. We've shrunk 5%. That's absurd for an advanced nation. Absolutely absurd. The equivalent of 48 billion fucking pounds we've lost. Annual cost at 2023 levels. Other sources like the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, and the National Institute for Economic and Social Research also indicated significant ongoing losses in trade, investment, and GDP growth, potential reaching tens of billions annually in the long term. This is what this man gave you. He gave you a 5% reduction in your country's overall wealth. And you want him as Prime Minister? Are you fucking with me, Britain?
He's using immigration as a pushing point.
It's terrifying.
Masking it is something else. What, though, is the thing that concerns us? To me, it's a stab at our civil and human rights.
Yeah, very much so. And that scares me more than you fucking know. Anyway, moving on from the arse wipe that is Farage. What you got next?
Oh, new Home Secretary. And I'll tie that straight in with, obviously, the new lineup for the Labour Party as well, because it all ties into one anyway.
Go for it.
What a moment for, I can never pronounce the name, I do apologise.
Shabana Mahmood.
There you go. To take the helm at the Home Office. Shabana Mahum is moving from dealing with creaking at the seams prison service as Justice Secretary to an even more pressured asylum system as Home Secretary. The thing that concerns me the most is the fact that she's come from the prison service, which is already straining massively, which is already under high pressure, it is, to an even more pressure position of Home Secretary. Yeah, that to me raises concerns.
She's the reason why so many of the early releases have happened.
Yeah.
That's given me some serious concerns.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is part of the fact that the prison system is under strain, isn't showing signs of progress, yet she's just been promoted, basically. I'm sorry, I didn't realise that for failure you can get promoted. I know it's harsh, but it's fucking true.
Well, that was how you got promoted when we were at work, wasn't it?
Actually, I was already manager before you got there, so screw you.
Stab in the dark.
Yeah, straight from you, yeah. Just remember that what you said there is the one that kept you from being sacked multiple times, yeah?
That's because, no. That's because I was the only cunt who'd come in at night on a drop of a hat. And your argument was still valid even with, what was it, 3 of your bosses. Through 3 bosses. He turns up. None of your other motherfuckers do.
No, my argument is I keep the war first going, that includes this motherfucker. So if you sack him, what do you think's going to happen? That was my argument. The department she will now lead up is will be making diplomatic shifts to counter the public mood on immigration and grooming gangs. What at the moment for the Home Office mantle to be grasped by the first Muslim woman to occupy one of the great offices, taking charge of police, MI5 and the government's domestic direction of travel at a time of great flux.
You see, this is what really irritates me, is I'm worried that she's going to crack and make us look fucking bad. You see, that's the important. They've lined this up. Who's the paper that's put this to, Chris? Where did you get that from? Sky News. You see, they're lining that up. A great Muslim, the first Muslim to the great powers. That's a fucking dog whistle there, because the job that she's just stepped into is extremely hard. Home secretaries collapse all over the place on a regular basis, and that's the first time a Muslim has entered it. You see, they're looking to make us look bad.
She has also become the Home Secretary of the country, where the national flag is being hoisted as a symbol of dissatisfaction with anger at the arrival of desperate migrants crossing the channel in small boats. Ms. Mohammed picks up in tray of a Home Secretary who has been forced to make moves that often seem to defy her national position, tougher rules on asylum seekers, prescribing a pro-Palestinian group of activists and ordering an inquiry into grooming gangs.
Well, no, making inquiries into grooming gangs is perfectly normal.
Yeah.
But they should do it on a wider, broader basis. That's my problem.
Yeah, but perhaps all this will come more naturally to our Home Secretary. The Oxford-educated MP is considered a blue Labour social conservative. Only last month, she announced that foreign criminals will be deported after sentencing to free up prison space and protect the public. Okay, that point I agree with.
Yeah, me and Chris have always agreed with
Yeah. So
good migrants should not be harmed by bad migrants. Bad migrants should be deported. It should be an automatic deportation if you've made a serious crime in these United Kingdoms.
See, that's one thing. The fact that somebody that's come from running a prison system, which is...
She's actually done some reforms on it. She has repaired it.
I was going to say, is struggling. Yeah. She has started, she's made the groundwork, but hasn't implemented it. She's tried implementing quite a bit, but not much is stuck.
Yeah.
This is the thing that concerns me. The fact that she hasn't managed to, really punch it home in the prison system. What is she going to do as Home Secretary?
Well, she lacked resources, mate. They weren't giving her any more prisons.
Is it a case of fact I'm hoping she pulls through and actually able to deliver that punch to really smack it home, because in fact she's in a more powerful position. Yeah, she's going to use that weighted position to really make a difference. But my concern is, will they listen? Because as he's just said, it sounds very suspicious that obviously they've done it. They've
made it sound like she's the first Muslim to reach these positions, and that's been deliberate.
is it a case of that they're using her background to potentially use it as an scapegoat?
Yeah, yeah.
Or is it a case of the fact of trying to, because it could be spun two ways, using the scapegoat or using the fact that cultural diversity can help restoring Britain. I see this is it's a 50-50 split, and it could go either way. It depends on how she navigates the coming road. Yeah. I hope her all the best, because in fact it does need someone with quite a stern hand. Yeah. If she manages to pull it off, fantastic.
Yeah, no, everyone. And I mean, if she succeeds in deporting foreign criminals, that's a win. That's a win, however you look at it.
If she pulls it off, fantastic. If it fails, there's going to be so much backlash.
And it's going to come straight at the Muslims. And it does. And that's one of the key reasons why I had a problem with the way that they made that sound.
Yeah.
The Sky News was deliberately dog whistling. Oh, we've finally let the Muslims take over as the country's collapsing. Well, it wasn't collapsed by us.
Oh, here we go. Right. So, literally, and then it moves on, because obviously that's just the main point on her. Then obviously it's a case of now who's moved around with what within Starmer's cabinet, because it leads into my next point in the new lineup in the Labour. Who's moved where in Starmer's cabinet? Obviously, David Lammy has obviously took up the new Foreign Secretary to replace Andrew Rayner and as Deputy Prime Minister. I have hopes for him.
Yes, so do I.
Because of the fact, obviously...
he does look like he's going to sort some... And from what the little bit of reading I've done about him, he's not from the gifted type of Labour socialites. He's come up from the ground.
He looks like the one that's not going to take shit, and actually he's going to start actually hammering home some stuff that needs to be done. 𝐬𝐿𝐫𝐿 takes over from Lammy. This is someone that is... fallen into the same boat as Rayner. I personally, as a PM, if I saw people lining up in the same boats, would not have promoted. If anything, I would have got rid of. He's already turned around and sacked two others. I'm sorry, you should have been on that list.
She should have been.
Yeah.
But then, to be fair, Stemmer's part of that group. It's his inside group. You need to realise that, Chris. They're his
obviously, Shabina Mohammed is obviously filled in Cooper's role. I'm hoping she does some real good in that position. She needs to watch and navigate that path really carefully, especially from her background. She needs to take all that into consideration, but still hit home massive points. Obviously, I'm replacing Rayner as in her former role is Steve Reed, the new Housing Secretary.
Know nothing about him.
You, sir, have got to watch your step, because of the fact she was the Housing Secretary, and she fucked up with her own housing situation, which means your own housing situation is going to be under the massive spotlight.
It's going to be a microscope. It's going to be looking at
you need to make sure you got all your ducks in the line.
And you need to make sure what you're doing is in line too, like building more fucking houses, fixing the fucking crisis that is the lack of housing in the UK.
Obviously, Environmental Secretary now goes to Emma Reynolds.
Don't know her either.
Environmental Secretary, I always struggle to remember what that covers.
The British environment.
The British environment. Does that mean obviously given permission of how much land could be built on?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Yeah, because if that falls into that, it's about time you shifted the ass and moved that green belt and allow us to build far substantial more homes and everything else. So I reckon you do that, you'll win over quite a considerable amount of the British public and actually stick Labour in a good standing.
Responsible for protecting and improving nations' natural environments, wildlife, land use, and tackling climate change.
Land use. So she does have control of the green belt and what land gets built on. You need to loosen that belt.
Absolutely.
You're in a key position here, which will tie in with Steve Reed to build more homes. Give him more land, he can build more homes. You start winning back the British public.
Absolutely. Because you'll then increase the amount. We need housing, and that needs to be a multilateral position.
More housing means lower house prices, which means more people can afford. And on a side note,
lowering fucking, and more importantly, lowering fucking overall rent. Because the people transferring out of the rented market will force the rented market to lower their prices to draw more people back. Remember, they know they don't need to at the moment.
Which, literally, on a side note, means the government needs to stop giving brand new built houses to bloody asylum seekers. When there are people,
I think that's a dog whistling, Chris.
Yeah.
It genuinely
if that is so much as an inkling in truth, that needs to be shut down straight away. Those brand new houses need to be put to the people on the land, not asylum seekers. I'm sorry, asylum seekers, you get put into a place where you can be put unfolded without affecting the actual natural populace. I'm sorry. That's where I stand on that.
I think in reality, the fact that there is a lot of dead the idea that asylum seekers are getting preferable treatment towards new houses is garbage. There's very little evidence towards it.
Obviously, Emirates takes over, obviously, Environmental Secretary. Moving into the cabinet is Pat McFadden, who's taken up the new role of Pensions Secretary. You, my friends, have the job of making sure our elderly are looked after. That in its own comes with its own pressure.
There is absolutely no proof that asylum seekers get new homes before UK residents. Asylum seekers are provided with basic, no-choice accommodations by the UK government whilst their claim is being processed, which is different from the social housing system. After receiving refugee status, they become eligible for housing associations but are genuinely put at the back. So even after they've become refugees and they're allowed to live in the UK, they are not given preferable treatment. This is a dog whistle by the right-wing press. An absolute dog whistle.
I see, obviously, Pat McFadden takes over the new Pensions Secretary. You need to start sorting out on how, making sure that our elderly are looking after, especially since the fact we're on the path to that. We're halfway there. And the fact that I've already made sure that my retirement fund is well looked after. So
you do not rely on the governmental pension, Britain. It's not going to save you.
I was going to say, use it as part of it.
Yeah, but not top up, but it's not going to be your main source. Not
your main source. You need to make sure you looked after yourself on that front. I've already done so. I'm hoping this idiot has obviously already done so or is on the path to do it. And obviously his predecessor, 𝐬𝐮𝐿 is the new Science Secretary.
Again, I don't even know her.
No, the fact that there's some fresh faces coming in inspires hope that hopefully they'll do something. But also, whereas slight concern of what background have they come from. Obviously, within a couple of months, that should
become more apparent.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then Jonathan Reynolds, the former Business Secretary, is now the Chief Whip a job that involves keeping the party discipline.
You see, the Chief Whip's job is basically he's the party policeman.
Yeah.
That's his job, is to keep the ethics in line. He should have been the one dealing with fucking Rayner. That's probably why the previous guy's lost his job.
Yeah. Jonathan, you need to make sure that everyone's got their ducks all lined up in a row.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because of the fact, as I said, you're politicians, you are in positions of power, you're held to extremely high standards, which means you need to make sure you got everything correct within your own personal business, let alone obviously politics.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You should be turning around and making sure that everyone's got everything correct and paying any past bills due straight away to make sure that you are not eligible for such scandals that has just gone on.
My thoughts on the reshuffle, Chris, is that it's a positive look in the right direction.
Yeah.
I think that this is going in the right direction. I think we've got some veterans who know what they're doing, like David Lamron. I think this is a very positive position from my point of view as a centrist, but I genuinely think there needs to be more work actually fixing some of Britain's real problems that Keir Starmer just seems to be shy away from.
Yeah. With this shuffle, I hope it brings back positive change.
Yeah.
We need positive change and we need it fast.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Obviously, I would like your thoughts on this.
Yeah, please, always. As I said,
your thoughts on the reshuffle.
We do posts where we answer questions that come through, as long as you're not being raving racist nutcases. If you are, we don't pay attention to you. We genuinely don't.
Pose sensible questions, sensible opinions and everything else.
Yeah.
And we'll gladly discuss it.
If you don't agree with us, be civil about it.
Yeah, if you don't fully agree.
Well, I don't expect everyone to agree with us.
To be quite honest, I'd love the fact that people don't agree, because then that opens the conversation for debate.
Absolutely.
So,
what's the time on that?
1:09.
1:09. Cool. We're going to get on with my letter.
Yeah.
Call that a day. Right. Moving on to my reply from the BBC. I'm going to read this out for you all. Dear Mr. Lockwood, Thank you for getting in touch with us about our recent news coverage of the Reform UK. BBC News is committed to providing our audience with fair and impartial coverage of all relevant political parties. I'm not necessarily agreeing with that. Whenever we invite a representative of any political party to take part in our coverage, we are careful to ensure that their views are appropriately challenged and analysed. I don't agree with that at all. I don't believe you challenge Nigel Farage's lies enough. We are careful to ensure that the views are appropriately challenged and analysed over the appropriate panel of time. Our editor guidelines make it clear that evidence of past electoral support and current electoral support should be taken into account in making judgments about appropriate levels of coverage and promotion. Traditional voting patterns across Britain have been shifting, providing a challenge to established political parties, especially Labour and the Conservative. At the 2017 general election, these two parties combined won more than 80% of the vote. At last year's general election, the figure was below 60%. Current opinion polls put the combined support at nearly 40% across the UK. Britain. These opinion polls are paid for by certain types of lobbyists and large educatable groups. They are trying to steer public opinion, BBC. And you know this. You're intelligent enough to know this.
What concerns me is the fact that they only say Conservative and Labour and not Lib Dems.
Yeah. And we'll get to that. During the last year or so, Reform UK, formerly the Brexit Party, appeared to have been the main benefactor of this shift. Our assessment of past electoral support, including both representatives, i.e. how many MPs are elected, and also vote shares, i.e. how many people actually vote for the party overall, other they have 4 MPs currently, Reform UK won more than 4 million votes in 2024 general election, making them the third largest party in terms of vote share. More than 14%, behind Labour and the Conservatives, but ahead of the Liberal Democrats. Nevertheless, returned with more than 70 MPs. In 2025, in the English local elections in May, Reform UK won a majority of 10 councils plus 2 mayoral contests, which they've lost entire sections of councillors, but you're glossing over that because it's my complaint. Reform UK won any party an estimated nation share of 30%. On the same day, Reform UK won a parliamentary by-election in Rudderton and Helsby with nearly 39% of the vote in the constituency. Assuming current electoral support, including obligations to take account legitimate opinion polls, whose are legitimate opinion polls? The Guardians? The Telegraphs? They all have an agenda. Have you launched any of these opinion polls yourself? How many of these are written by a centralistical group? These are the problems I have. You say legitimate opinion polls, but you don't quote who the fuck is financing them. And that's one of my problems when people mention legitimate opinion polls. They don't tell who pays for these opinion polls, who's cherry picking these data points, and therefore steering political opinion. Every opinion poll has an agenda behind it. 90 consecutive polls indicate the Reform UK was ahead of all other parties across Britain. During August, the party's polling averaged 17 opinion polls from a range of companies, including a range of companies. Range of companies! Who are paying these companies? Who is paying for these opinion polls? I guarantee you that centralists are not being amongst them, let alone the left. We make up half the fucking country. If you're opinion polling specific groups of people, you are alienating others. What we need is a genuine national opinion poll on a vast scale, say 100,000 people. Probably do that in 2026 if you listen to my criticisms, BBC. I doubt it. The party's political average across 17 polls, putting companies at 30% ahead of Labour by 21, the Conservative 18, the Liberal Democrat 14, and the Green Party at 9. The Green Party has an incredible new leader, almost universally not talked about outside of social media. An incredibly gifted new leader. Someone I don't agree with politically, but I can see the energy behind him. And I feel obliged to mention that the Green Party leader, the new Green Party leader, is doing exceptionally good work in what he's doing. I don't agree with his policies because I believe the Green Belt needs to be shifted. I believe Britain needs to build. I genuinely do. I think we need to build our way out of the problems we have here in the UK. Build, 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 build.
Housing's one of them to start
Housing,
with.
schools, hospitals, prisons. Build, Britain. Fucking build. Not the word and language being used by any other party.
As we've already proved in previous points, that only 8% of the land has been built on, which you could stick in the south corner.
Yeah, exactly. We need to increase our land usage of the UK across every board. And for that, the Green Belt has to suffer. Because there is this mythical understanding that we can continue to hold 70 million people that was on the land usage for 50.
Not going to happen. You don't even have to build massive super cities. You could build small little cities across the entire UK, which will hardly take up any land. Because there'll be people that are worrying that.
With regards to Nigel Farage, he's an elected MP and leader of a political party with a clear evidence of significant electoral support. From which polling stations? Who pays for them? BBC, you don't give any details when you're given a complaint letter. It's all, you know, airy-fairy jargon. And I really do fucking get irritated by this. We give careful consideration. I don't believe that in seconds. I believe you're chasing headlines, and that's why you chase Nigel Farage. You're looking for what is new and hip. If you'd like to understand how your complaint is handled by the BBC, no, I'd like you to be more specific about when I give a complaint. Kind regards to BBC's complaint teams. Look, my problem, BBC, is you're a national paid group.
Yeah, we pay your bloody goddamn wage.
And yet you give no details on who these companies are. And I feel that's my mirth with you. You don't tell us who backs these. Who are the financiers? Because when you find where the fucking money comes from, then you find out whose party they support. And I bet you most of those poll makers were ex-Conservatives now supporting reform.
Controversy.
Yeah, because the BBC doesn't want to acknowledge that that's where the polling companies come from. Anyway, I think that's an excellent point to position, unless you've got anything to add to what I've said on the letter.
No.
No? Oh, you think that pretty much rolls up?
Rolls it up, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Lack of information sounds about right for the BBC.
Yeah, it does. You haven't given us any details. I mean, that's my problem, BBC. There is very little details on the material of why I complained, why I wrote my complaint. Spent an hour and a half bloody writing a complaint, and then this is the garbage I get given.
Expect anything less from the BBC?
It's just like, oh, wave him off, wave him off. We have to reply, but wave him off. It's a waste of my fucking time. Waste of my fucking time. As always, I'm John, Sean, or Yasha. Depends on who the fuck you're asking.
I'm Chris. Hope you have a smashing day.
And we are Your Voice, Your Nation here at the Blue Collar Workers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have a lovely